You're listening to the Chad Hasty Show on demand. Good for you. Now download the KFYO app and listen live weekday afternoons 5 to 7 p.m. Central.
Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, this is the Chad Hasty Show. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty. Filling in today for Chad Hasty, it's firearms enthusiast Steve Evans.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans hanging out with you today. Oh, my goodness. You guessed it. It is Attention Deficit Monday. I'm telling you, I'm bouncing all over the place today. There is no telling what's going to happen, and I've had such a Monday. We're completely unprepped. Oh, yeah. I'm completely unprepped. I have no idea what we're going to do today. I mean, we'll put a show together for sure. It'll be entertaining. It'll be fun. Your text is always 806-680-2790, whatever you want to talk about today. Happy to try and weigh in on it. Nick, flying the ship this evening. First voice you hear if you call. Everything's working so far. The eclipse didn't mess up. The internet didn't crash. Spaceship didn't come down, didn't see little green men. Nick didn't have to go get a lobotomy. He looks okay. He's got a sweater on, which is, if he'd have walked in with a T-shirt, like total Big Bang Sheldon Cooper T-shirt, it'd have blown my mind. I would have thought there's something wrong. We're calling the doctor. Nick, did you feel like funny at all today? There's like some weird anything during the, got dark a little bit. Nothing funny at all? No, like your hair didn't stand on end or nothing?
Yeah, well, what I was very disappointed about today is, in Lubbock, we only got, 90%? Is that what it is?
I don't know the exact number, 93. Yeah. It was cool.
It was cool. It was cool. I heard it was cooler in other places of Texas, specifically Dallas.
I think Chad was in the area of totality.
Mm-hmm. He said it got so dark he saw the stars. I did not see any stars here in Lubbock.
Now, I didn't see any stars. I mean, it was still pretty bright out. It was bright enough that you couldn't take your glasses off. You had to put your old school 3D glasses had to stay on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I did hear that there was potentially some comets that could be seen.
Oh.
There was, completely blacked out dark, pitch dark, stars. Jupiter, Venus was supposed to be visible, and some comet, I forget the name of it. Our good friend Jody Smyer used to produce this time slot, wrote up a real nice piece. He shared it with friends and family, but he sent it to me, and it had all the various things that you could see in it. We talked about it yesterday on the Sunday show, but you're supposed to be able to see a comet, and so I kind of wondered. I haven't seen any pictures or talked to anybody in the area of totality, but I'd heard it was supposed to get pretty dark. I was a little disappointed, but still cool. I've got a guy that works for me. He's a very old gentleman, and I had an extra pair of glasses. I was like, "You need to come out here and see that." And he kind of looked at me and says, "Why?" I said, "Because you're going to be dead before the next one happens." And he just looks at me. He's like, "What?" I said, "It's going to be like 2044. I mean, you're in your 80s. You're not going to see the next one." I hope you do. I hope you're around, but you're probably not going to be. So you may want to come out. So he ended up coming out. We had a great time. The kids came by. We all threw on the glasses. I got my little $3 cell phone camera filter thing. That couldn't make that work. I didn't get a decent picture. What was kind of cool is that if you got to see it, Nick, and those of you that got to see it, that was overcast. And there was like a ring kind of cast in the clouds, real big. I did get a picture of that. Didn't burn my phone up doing that. Really neat. But interesting. Glad that we got to, glad we made the effort to go out and take a look at it. But I really didn't expect it to cover as much of the sun as it actually did. I thought there would be, a larger sliver, but it was pretty interesting. And I remember back in 2017, we were set up. I purchased all the fancy stuff, the filters, everything to put on my Nikon. I had everything set up, tripod. We were out on the west end of town to catch it, and it got overcast. I got a few pictures of it early on, and long before the ring of fire was about to happen, it got overcast, and we didn't get to see it, if you remember that. But won't happen again until 2044. I think 2044, if I remember right, you won't be able to see from the United States. 2045, I could be getting text in if you know this. 2045, I think, is the next total solar eclipse that'll be visible from the United States, but I'm not sure if it's going to be visible from Texas or something. I'll have to dig up all that information, but interesting day. So I'm sure you heard all the various stories, all the crazy things that were supposed to happen, the conspiracy theories every time any eclipse happens. We talked yesterday about biblical times when Christ was crucified. Darkness, came upon the land, and so there's a lot of people think that there was a total solar eclipse that happened, and so that's been something that people have used to try to calculate the actual date that it happened. Let's see, we got a text from 365 Steve. I want to be the first to officially congratulate Nick to full-time status today. It is truly an eclipse, freak of nature. Good job, Nick. Nice to know the master's degree. He's not even, he had to throw some headphones on. He's working on some production for me. He's not even listening to us at the moment. I could just wave at him. You know what, Eric? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this to him when he comes back and just when he flips back over in just a second. Let's see. 466 Eclipse media really hyped this up and people fell in line. You know what was interesting? We had all the reports of FEMA sending out the warnings, all the government warnings of all these weird things that could happen. I talked to a friend today that he's got family down in Kerrville, and they said it was really they were really worried because they were told all of these people were going to be there, and restaurants had ramped up supplies, were getting ready for this influx of people, and then his dad had said there's nobody there, and then calls him back a couple hours later and says, forget that, there's people everywhere. There's people lined up. So hopefully brought a little bit of commerce. Nick, a text came in while you were flipped over on the other line. It says, I want to be the first to officially congratulate Nick to full-time status. I'm assuming he's saying full-time status today. It is truly an eclipse, a freak of nature. Good job, Nick. Nice to know that master's degree is kicking into high gear for you. What's on the bucket list so you can operate the fax machine and typewriter? Much love, Eric. I believe that's Eric. He's the guy that holds Health Center together. Eric from Health Center, I believe. So anyway, but so much hype on this. It kind of blew me away. It's just an eclipse. I mean, we had the one last year. Nothing happened. It, of course, wasn't as a total eclipse. And then remember the big intersection. I don't even have this pulled up anymore, but I was looking at it yesterday when we were on the air. The big intersection of the 2017 eclipse where the tracks intersect. I mean, that was supposed to be ground zero to something really, a really big event, whether it was a biblical event or whether it was like War of the Worlds and all the aliens were going to start popping out of the ground right there. Is it in Indiana somewhere? I can't remember. That's where all the crazy was supposed to happen. So like part of me, it's like going to Times Square for New Year's. You kind of want to go, but then you don't want to be out there with all the crazy people, right? And that little intersection, that little town, I'll have to pull that up. I can't remember what the name of it was. That's going to be like one of those bittersweet deals. You kind of want to go to see how weird it is, but at the same time, all the crazy people. And this is the kind of thing that really brings out some crazy people. I mean, you get I'm sure Alex Jones was there. I'm sure. He was there front and center, ground zero. I mean, even though nothing happened, he'll tell you it did. He had an out-of-body experience or something. I'll mess around and get a cease and desist from Alex Jones. Stop talking about me. It'll happen. He had a total out-of-body experience, or he woke up with like needles. He was probed, whatever. Something bad happened to him, or maybe he's just disappeared. That would be great. Wouldn't that be a great stunt? Like Alex Jones went to the intersection of where the big event was supposed to happen, and then he just went into hiding for like a year. He can come back and say that he had been abducted by aliens during the eclipse, and he could claim anything he wanted. People will believe that stuff. That's the crazy thing. People follow that. I mean, these are the real, and I love to listen to Coast AM in the evenings because it's really entertaining. But man, people call in with some weird stuff, and they're serious. They really believe it. They really believe that they have a conversation with their cat. Can you imagine? I mean, all the cats were probably talking today during the eclipse. There was probably all kinds of, dogs and cats living together, just end time kind of stuff. Was that the line from Ghostbusters? Anyway, I'll wrap that part up just to say, did you get to watch the eclipse? If you're listening and you were in the area of totality, was it pitch black? Could you see stars? Did you get to see that would have been kind of neat. Part of me wanted to travel somewhere, go to Fort Worth or Kerrville or somewhere down in that track, and it actually wouldn't have been too far because it came across, south of us and went up. Would have really been interesting to do if I wasn't just so busy, didn't have one of those days. But anyway, we'll take the break. When we come back, we'll pull something out of the stack, I'm sure. Or we'll just call Eric, and I'm sure he's got something. Anyway, it's Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans hanging out with you. Back in a moment.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune in on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock, News Talk 940 in Amarillo, News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene, and in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we will dive into the aftermath of Eclipse Day. How did it go for everybody out there all across the country and around the world? Plus the latest polls, Trump v. Biden. What is the trend showing us? And Clay?
Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, who will be on the ballot, will join us. She just came back from the border. All that and more. Tuesday edition, Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Tomorrow morning at 11.
A good song. An oldie out there. Gen X alarms going off all over the place. I had this on vinyl. I forgot about this one, Nick. I got to add it to my list. I had this on vinyl. Man. Great tune. Brings back so many memories. Roller skating. Gen Xers, you roller skated to this. Finally got that girl to hold your hand. Sweaty palms and all, cruising around the roller rink. It was this song. It was the slow song, the partner's song. Man, I don't even know where we go from here. I'm on my way, Nick. Oh, that's awesome. Steve Evans in for Chad Hasty this evening. 806-680-2790. I'm all mellow now. You just took all my energy. I was ready to just start screaming. Wound up screaming. You took all the energy out with that. Just brought it all down, just in a nice zen. Just zen, Nick. So I'm gonna lay out something for you that I'm still trying to wrap my head around what's going on here. So you're gonna have to bear with me. This is some ag-related, interesting nonsense. And I've got just a massive amount of documents piled together, and it affects cotton farmers. And it affects cotton gins. And I want to be delicate here because I don't fault a farmer at all and I don't want you to fault a farmer, and I don't want you to get mad at farmers for what I'm going to tell you. And it may take me a couple segments to kind of lay all this out as I understand it, but it's some more government handout bull called the Climate Smart Commodities Grant. Doesn't that sound stupid just off the cuff? So let me start by going over to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, where all good things come from. And so here's the background to this. USDA first announced details of the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities opportunity in February 22. The design of this opportunity was informed by over 400 comments received in the request for information published in 21. Through this new opportunity, USDA will finance partnerships to support production and marketing of climate smart commodities. And you still never really figure out what this means, by the way, via a set of pilot projects lasting 1 to 5 years. Now, we're going to talk about a 5-year program because this is what's impacting us out here on the High Plains. On September 14th, Secretary Vilsack announced USDA would be investing up to $2.8 billion. You put the big B word on the end, billion, in 70 selected projects. Let's see. I guess one of the people that sent me this story is texting me. How do I listen? Let's see. I'm just responding. I'm making you wait while I do this. Isn't that funny? $70 billion in 70 selected projects under the first pool of the partnerships. I'm going to keep saying this stupid thing. Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities funding opportunity. On December 12th, you announced another $325 million would be invested in additional 71 projects under the second funding pool. Now, mind you, when we go through all this, remember, $2.8 billion, and we can't get any funding for border projects or, all the other things that we need, but we're going to waste money on this. Okay, so USDA is updating the project dashboard, and I went through that thing, and I can't figure out what it means. Periodically, as we finalize the scope and funding levels of grant agreements, the projects will provide technical and financial assistance to producers to implement climate-smart production practices on a voluntary on working lands, pilot innovative and cost-effective methods for quantification, monitoring, reporting, verification of greenhouse gas benefits. It's starting to really sound stupid, isn't it? Develop markets and promote the resulting climate-smart commodities. USDA anticipates these projects will result in hundreds of expanded markets and revenue streams, more than 60,000 farmers reached, encompassing more than 25 million acres of working land, more than 60 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent sequestered over the lives of the projects. This is just a marketing piece here. 20 tribes and tribal groups leading and partnering on many projects. Proposals for 141 selected projects. Have I lost you yet? Because it's boring stuff. Now, let me see if I can find this, and it's just this dashboard is ridiculous. Now, let's move into what matters to us, because these projects can encompass all different types of farming and commodities. So we get to the climate smart cotton through a sustainable and innovative supply chain approach. And this document was written in June of 23. The program deploys funding from the USDA's partnerships program, that $1 billion price tag that I told you about, alongside resources from Ecom USA, who is a cotton warehousing company. Now, I'm going to try to be delicate here because I can only really tell you what I know. I'm not going to assume there's just too much other I don't quite understand about all of it yet, how it's actually working and who's accountable, and those are the things we can't figure out. And program partners to scale the production and consumption of climate-smart cotton. Ecom is accepting inquiries from cotton growers in the state of Arkansas and Texas happening out here on the High Plains for participation in the program in the 24-25 crop year. Program promotes the adoption of sustainable and regenerative practices for cotton by U.S. farmers with support from project. And again, I'm going to read you a whole lot of bull that you're not going to understand because I don't understand what it means. There's no real guideline I can find that says what they're actually going to do. Are they going to go to no-till farming practices? A lot of them already do that. A lot of them are already doing some of the stuff that this program is purported to ask them to do in exchange for payment. Well, they'll get paid to do it. Your tax dollars at work. let's see. In order to be eligible for enrollment, you must be willing to enroll in one of the following certification programs: Better Cotton Initiative, Regenegree, for Transitional Organic, certified by the Texas Department of Agriculture. Register with the FSA office. Complete the required enrollment documents. Many project partners, including Quarterway Gin, I'm not picking on you, but they happen to be the ones administering the program out here. Earthworm Foundation, A&M AgriLife Research, University of Arkansas Cooperative, Cotton Union USA, 5 Lot Cotton, and more to be announced. There's a full program announcement on the handy-dandy link, and you get over and start reading, and you really get lost in it, in the full program announcement. Now, this is Ecom that's kind of controlling this, and we're going to hit a break here in a minute. I'm going to have to drag this over for a little bit because I'm still trying to understand it, and the part that really angers me I haven't got to yet. But Ecom, who's a cotton warehouse, is who evidently has been allocated a large amount of money, and I don't have the exact amount. It's in the double-digit millions. I don't know if it's 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. I haven't quite found that yet. Let me get to that after the break. We got to hit a break and check on news and weather. Back after with more Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans in with you. Back in a moment.
Call in to the Chad Hasty Show at 1-800-687-0790. The Chad Hasty Show, broadcasting on the Texas Town Square Media Network.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. VA disability compensation is a monthly tax-free payment to veterans who got sick or injured in the military and to veterans whose service worsened an existing condition. You may qualify for VA disability compensation for physical and mental health conditions that developed or worsened due to service. Learn more at va.gov/disability.
The news and talk of West Texas. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO. Chad Hasty, talking the news at the start, middle, and end of your drive home, and when news breaks. This is the Chad Hasty Show.
Hey, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans in for Chad today. 806-680-2790 if you'd like to text us a message. Happy to hear from you. If you're just tuning in, I'm attempting, I'm doing a terrible job of it, but I'm attempting to go through another one of those government programs out there that just seems to waste a whole lot of money. Climate Smart. It just makes you cringe hearing that from the get-go. And this centers around Ecom. Ecom USA is a warehousing cotton buying organization that buys and trades cotton, and somehow, of course, they got selected for this program. So on looks like May 31st, they put out a statement, and this is all public information. I'm not making any of this up. We're pleased to announce that Ecom USA's grant proposal has been selected and signed. So they went out to grab a grant. And that's what happens. All this money gets allocated. You hear about it and go, wow, we could do something with that money. We're going to go out and grab a grant. It was signed through USDA's Partnership for Climate Smart Commodities. They've got a funding ceiling of $30 million. And it doesn't seem like a lot when we start talking about that $billion-plus price tag that we were talking about before the break. It's structured so that as much funding as possible will directly reach growers in the form of impact payments. Ecom's directly contributing its own resources at no cost to the federal grant. I don't know how much. In addition to the natural benefits of sustainable agriculture, this grant allows producers who partner with Ecom to be financially compensated for their efforts in growing climate-smart cotton. Still don't quite know what that is yet. We welcome the opportunity to work with the early adopters as well as those who are looking to implement new practices onto their farms. Furthermore, Ecom will bring together the full supply chain with greater visibility and trust between producers and consumers. Purchasing manager of Ecom USA. Project offers inclusive enrollment in opportunities to U.S. cotton producers. Our activities will expand climate-smart cotton markets and implement methods to restore soil and ecosystem health in cotton production. Still don't know how. Through regenerative farming and best practices based on grower-specific needs. We and our grant partners will incentivize the implementation of climate-smart cotton production practices, create grower educational resources, and haven't seen all this stuff. Engage growers on farm for reporting and monitoring requirements, build marketing channels, support long-term demand for climate-smart cotton, blah, blah, blah. Marketing piece. Quarterway cotton growers, who's a cotton gin up in Hell County. Not mad at them, not picking on them, but hey, they're in this public press release. Is excited to be named as a partner with Ecom USA. So they picked one cotton gin to administer the program on the Climate Smart grant. We have a long history working with Ecom USA. I'm going to suspect that they're probably a big customer. I guess. I don't know. I don't know how much cotton they sell them, but they're probably a big customer, maybe why they picked them. But I'm just guessing. Many innovative projects that propel our farmers to the forefront of regenerative agriculture. Through this grant, we'll be able to continue our journey into regenerative practices, blah, 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 blah. I can't even hardly read it. Todd Straley, CEO and Managing Partner, Quarterway Cotton Growers in Plainview, Texas. We will work with program farmers and key textile. I'm going to get sick of this in a minute because it's just such a marketing piece. Participants to further intensify. And I don't know why Eric's not all over this. You know, that's up there in your area, Eric. You should know all about this. And further intensify and target cooperation with clients around the purchase sale of climate smart cotton. I'm reading all this to you to just show you how stupid this is. A core aspect of the grants is development of long-term strategies and agreements and the blah, blah, blah. Still not telling you how and what we're going to do. It goes on to tell you about Ecom, goes on to tell you about Ecom USA, the group, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, nice, pretty rewards for climate-smart cotton. I don't know what climate-smart cotton is. I don't know how. I mean, farmers have gotten really, really good over the years at producing cotton with the least amount of input cost as humanly possible through conservation tillage, no-till programs, limited passes, varieties, genetically modified varieties of cotton that grow well, resistant to certain weeds, weed killer resistant cotton, things like that. These practices have gotten pretty good, and farmers, I mean, a farmer's not going to get in the business and go, let me figure out the most expensive way to farm cotton. I can't figure out how all of a sudden there's this new way to farm cotton cheaper, or maybe it's not cheaper. It's just better for the climate. It's climate smart cotton. And it may be more expensive, but let's create a grant. Now, let me tell you the unintended consequences of all of this. And this is what this has done. In the cotton ginning world, there's corporate-owned cotton gins out there. And, of course, if you don't know what a cotton gin is, then you don't live here. You got our listener up in Alaska. You may not know what that is. So I'll tell you quickly what a cotton gin does. It takes raw cotton out of the field. It separates it into some components, which is lint, which is marketed. It's the big bales of cotton that you make your pants and your shirts out of and other things. You get cotton seed, which has a value, and cotton seed oil. It's used as feed for cows, several different things for it. You get moat, which is immature cotton fibers or short fibers. It's junk fiber, but that's usually the stuff that winds up in cushions and furniture and stuff like that. You get trash, which is it's got a little bit of value to it. It's used for some various things, sometimes pelletized, grounded. So it separates it in all of those various parts. And then it goes off to market. It's baled. It goes over to a mill is the next steps. That's what a cotton gin does. They're all across the high plains. They're all across the United States. They're all over the world. But we're in one of the highest concentrations of cotton right here in the high plains in the world. And so there's several out there. So they're corporate owned, they're co-op owned, which means there's several farmers that own them, and they're kind of in a cooperative program. And then there's independent farm, this cotton gins, and this is just families that own a cotton gin. Some of them are third and fourth generation. They own this ag industrial plant, and they've built a relationship with customers. Now, what this program has done, whether it was an intended or an unintended consequence, they are paying farmers up to $40 a bale. And that's a lot. And I don't blame a farmer on it. Certainly when cotton, the value of cotton is low, I don't blame a farmer for taking it, but they're paying the farmers $40 a bale above and beyond extra if they move their cotton over to Cordaway Cotton Gin and gin it there and enter into this program. Now, I don't know how the program's administered. I don't have anybody to get on the phone to defend it. I'm just telling you what I see at face value and what I'm hearing. But this money is being paid to bring farmers away from the gin that they gin at and over to a gin that has a taxpayer-funded economic advantage to bring those customers over. And, of course, the other independent gin over up the road here doesn't have that ability. They don't get to participate in that program. And not all farmers get to participate in it. It's a limited window. There's a sign-up window. It has to be kind of geographical. So it can be, they're not going to go buy cotton way down in South Texas and truck it all the way up here. It's not economically feasible. So now we've taken a government program. We're putting a particular gin, a particular group of farmers in a better position, a better economic position, and we're disenfranchising those, and we're using tax dollars to move customers around and impact the business. That's the thing that ought to get you upset. I got to take a break. We'll do that when we come back. I'll wrap up this and see where we're going next. This is the Chad Hasty Show right here on the Texas Town Square Media Network. Steve Evans in this evening. Stick around. Back in a moment.
The Titan of Texas Talk Radio, Chad Hasty.
It's election season, and if you're running for elected office anywhere across the listening area, you can contact Chad to appear on the show. Send Chad an email to chad@kfyo.com with your name, contact info, and the office you're running for, and he'll get back to you. Or you can call in your information during the show to 1-800-687-0790. All across Texas, this is the Chad Hasty Show.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we will dive into the aftermath of Eclipse Day. How did it go for everybody out there all across the country and around the world? Plus the latest polls, Trump v. Biden. What is the trend showing us? And Clay?
Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, who will be on the ballot, will join us. She just came back from the border. All that and more. Tuesday edition, Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Tomorrow morning at 11.
Hey, welcome back to, I just forgot what show I'm on. What show are we doing? Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. It's just attention deficit day, man. Where am I? It's the eclipse. It's like jet lag. It's the eclipse lag. Let me catch up before I continue to a couple of texts. 777 says, the cotton is climate smart when it's raining. So, that's right. Let's see. 365, the Brain Trust in Health Center. Eric said, didn't we just have climate change today? It dropped 10 to 15 degrees easily when the moon covered the sun. Then the earth amended itself. That was uncanny. I was sitting outside during the whole thing, and my wife got up and goes and puts a jacket on and then grabs a blanket. You could feel the temperature just dropping like a rock. It was uncanny. Oh, let's see. Got another text here. Ruckus, here's the halo that you mentioned. Yeah, thanks Ruckus for sending that picture. I got a good picture of that halo too. Pretty cool. I think it's just because of the cloud cover, but yeah, pretty neat. Anyway, just joining me, 806-680-279 if you want to send a message. We're talking about this climate smart cotton program, and there's so much more. I'm going to dig into it. I'll be back on with you later in the month. I'm going to dig in more, and I may have some people angry that I'm talking about them contact me to set me straight before that happens. But so here's Ecom. This was a statement sent out. A statement. It's a document. It's entirely too long for me to read you the whole thing, but I'm going to see if I can find the stuff that the person that sent it to me wanted me to read. It said cotton growers across the country experience negative impacts of changing weather patterns, including frequent severe storms, droughts, flooding, increased temperature. Same time, growers face market pressures as cotton buyers, textile companies, consumers increasingly demand sustainable produced clothing with zero or low carbon footprint. Seems like they're chaining a lot of issues together there. Certain farming practices have the potential to increase farmer resilience and help meet market demands, blah, blah, blah. We're participating in this program that's just taking money from you in the form of billions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. What is required to participate? Complete enrollment form. Provides eCotton with general acreage bale estimates, complete, and I'm sure. Well, I'm going to have to guess because I'm not sure. I'm going to guess that all this cotton has to go to their warehouse too. How convenient. Commercial contract, cotton program packaged by Ecom, farm certification with USDA, with the Farm Service Agency, the FSA office. There's all kinds of stuff you have to put in here to qualify. Delivery of contracted bales to designated gins and warehouses. There's a big one. Got to go where they tell you to go, to a designated gin, designated warehouse. So you can't get in the program unless you go to a specific gin. Gins are in business to make money. They're in business to gin cotton and make money. They're not out there as a tax-free organization that's just doing a service to the farmers. Oh, no. They're in it to make money. Whether it's a corporate-owned gin, an independent gin, even a co-op wants to make money, and they bonus that out to the farmers. Co-ops go to almost zero in their bank accounts every year except for their operating expenses. All of the members get all those bonuses and incentives to them. They're in it to make money. So we're taking our tax dollars and we're basically creating an unfair advantage, and we're funneling money to a particular business, to a couple of businesses here are benefiting out of it. This is what makes me angry. Because we're coming off of, and this is a 5-year program, mind you, 5 years. And a select few farmers out there are going to get that extra $40 a bale. And the problem with it is if you live in the high plains, if you're even remotely attached to the agriculture world, to the cotton world, you know that we have had 2 bad years on the high plains. In some areas it's been good, but especially in Hale County it hadn't been great. This is where this is happening. We've had a couple of bad years, and we've got businesses out there, family-owned businesses, middle America. They're small businesses struggling because they hadn't made a good crop in 2 years. They haven't had a lot of cotton to gin. So they're doing all they can to get by. And now, coming off of that, going into a year that's questionable because the crop's not in the ground yet, don't know what's going to happen, we're going to go in and artificially move customers around and take customers away because this particular business, this particular cotton gin didn't get to participate in the program, but this other one did, and we're going to use tax dollars through a grant that somebody put together to do it. A particular cotton gin that I happen to know is losing somewhere around 20% of their customers to this. Big customers. Now that's a lot when they're struggling to survive coming off of 2 short years. That's a lot to lose. And they don't blame the farmer either. They've told them, no hard feelings here. I understand why you're doing it. To get an extra $40 a bale, that's significant. There's no way they can compete. When you do the math, it doesn't actually work out to $40 a bale that farmer's getting because where they're going may or may not be the same costage in their cotton there. These are the kind of things when you hear about this stuff and you think, well, it doesn't affect me. Well, it does affect you because it's your tax dollars. It infuriates me when some government decides to take our money. And listen, this is just one silly little multi-billion-dollar program. There are tons of these all over the place. These are the kind of things that get attached to the big programs that you stand up and champion, stuff that's been, years in the making. Programs where they're going to, maybe veterans programs. And this is the stuff that gets attached on the back of it that says, we're going to go with this, but you're going to take these billions of dollars here and you're going to funnel them into this stupid program so that we can go over and give grants out to our buddies and we can artificially impact the whole system, the whole financial system that goes on. And it's very delicate. And that's what they've done. And it upsets me. I'm almost done talking about it. We're out of time on this hour. We're going to hit the break, and I'm gonna wrap it up. I promise after the break with a letter. Congressman Arrington's gotten involved in it, and I'm pretty appreciative. And he was calling for a little bit of oversight here. So I'll share with you a letter Congressman put out after the break. This is the Chad Hasty Show on the Texas Town Square Media Network. Back with hour 2 of the program. After we check in with news and weather. Steve Evans hanging out with you this evening. Nick Tauschik flying the ship. We're going to be back, I promise, with more Attention Deficit Monday. Stick around.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of the Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media. Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, this is the Chad Hasty Show. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty. He's an expert on grilling steaks and grilling texters. Filling in for Chad Hasty, it's Steve Evans.
I haven't grilled a steak in a while. I need to do that. It sounds good now. Forgot I was an expert. You know what an expert is, Nick. An X is a has-been and a spurt's a drip under pressure. Oh, my goodness. Steve Evans in for Chad Hasty, 806-680-2790. I'd like to send a message. I got one from 777. It's really direct and to the point. It says, good afternoon. Fascism. That's it. That's it. Fascism. And then Eric. Oh, don't be beaten on Congressman Arrington, Eric. Don't be beaten on him. I've got a lot of success stories. A lot of stories I can tell you that make him an outstanding congressman. Okay, so in the last hour, we were talking about the redistribution of your money. That's really what it is. Taking your tax dollars and redistributing. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. This was brought to the attention of Congressman Arrington. He did send a letter to Secretary Vilsack of the USDA. And he says, I write to express my serious concerns regarding the methodology and implementation of the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities and its adverse effects on the agricultural supply chain. The communities I represent in West Texas have made clear that this program, which was unilaterally established in 2022, is creating unfair market conditions and exacerbating the challenges faced by domestic cotton producers and ginners. For example, earlier this month, cotton ginners and farmers from Hale County, Texas, began to experience extreme market disadvantage following your decision to partner with a foreign-owned cotton merchant. This merchant independently selected a local gin to collaborate with, which resulted in a $40 a bale premium for its customers. It's been made clear to my office that the option to participate in this incentive program was not presented as an equal opportunity to competing gins, and as a result has created inequities that could potentially lead to closures. And yes, it's that serious. It can pull enough customers off that gin can't stay afloat anymore. We're already Gins, just like farmers, are forced to sell out and close every single day. We're ginning more and more cotton on less and less cotton gins. The current implementation of the Climate Smart Commodity Program unfairly disadvantages small domestic gins and threatens the livelihood of rural communities within my district. It is imperative that internal and congressional oversight is conducted immediately to address these concerns and ensures equitable distribution of funds going forward. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Strongly urge you to address these concerns and enact meaningful reforms that will prioritize the American farmer and strengthen our agricultural supply chains. I welcome the opportunity to discuss this issue further with your team. There is more to come on that. But it not only creates inequities, as Congressman Arrington put it, for the cotton gins, but for the farmers too, because not every farmer is going to be able to take advantage of this program. Not every farmer can get in it. Farmers down in Sweetwater, just to pick a random town, Abilene, yeah, there's cotton down there, Concho Valley, are not going to get to participate in this program because they can't truck their cotton that far, as I said earlier. They're going to be left out of it. This money pouring in is only affecting a certain area and a certain group of farmers. Again, if you're taking advantage of this program, I don't blame you. $40 a bale is a lot, a whole lot. But anyway, so I'm going to be watching this. Maybe more to report when we're on the air down the road. I think I'm back on this month sometime. But I'm going to keep an eye on it because it certainly impacts my customers and friends that are just trying to stay afloat. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? 13 GOP lawmakers and nominees roll out contract with Texas demands for the next House Speaker. With the incumbent Texas House Speaker engaged in a contentious runoff election, a group of 13 Texas legislators and presumptive representatives released a list of 12 requirements for a House Speaker candidate to gain their vote. Dubbed the Contract with Texas, inspired by the 1994 Contract with America, pushed by soon-to-be Republican House Speaker Newt Gingrich at the time. It's not happening again. People having deja vu. Let me jump out here to this text real quick. Keith and Vernon, my sidewalk. 839. I don't know what that means, Keith. Thank you, though. Thanks for listening. Let's see. Letter outlines 12 demands, including removing the current House parliamentarians. Establishing a GOP-only supported speaker majority and ending the practice of Democrat committee chairs. Full list of demands are: only solicit support for speakership from Republican members, in the practice of awarding Democrats with committee chairmanships, ensure all GOP legislative priorities receive a floor vote before any Democrat bills, replace the current liberal parliamentarians with staff committed to only offering advice on adherence to House rules, not to advancing their personal ideology, limit the Speaker to 2 terms to reduce their power over individual members, ensure there are no longer any Democrat majority committees, stop parliamentary abuse by requiring only substantial adherence to House rules to keep hyper-technical points of order from killing good legislation, allow audio-video recording of all House proceedings, including point-of-order debates, start substantive work as soon as session begins to end delays that kill priority legislation, reform the calendars committee to increase transparency and accountability, select a Republican as Speaker Pro Tem, decentralize power by prohibiting the distribution of political funds from the Speaker. The current members who've signed on are State Reps Brian Harrison Lozano, I can never pronounce the rep out of Fort Worth. I always botch it. Nate Schlezin, Tony Tenderholt, Steve Toth out of the Woodlands. Other signatories are presumptive legislators who secured GOP nomination to run for their respective seats in November. Brent Money, Janice Holt, good friend Janice Holt out of HD18, Matt Morgan, West Verdell, Mike Alcott, Shelley Luther, Mitch Little, Don McLaughlin. Of those, McLaughlin is the only one who has a really up-for-grabs district. HD80 is rated 51% Republican by the Texans Partisan Index. Depending on how the runoffs fare, their numbers could increase. Carissa Richardson, challenger to State Representative Frederick Frazier in McKinney in the HD 61 runoff, voiced support for the letter after its release. Harrison, who announced the letter alongside Shazleen, I'm sorry, I can't spit that out, on Dallas radio host Mark Davis' program Monday morning, told the Texan there's no need to reform the Texas House. A lot of people want to spend time talking about Democrat chairs or Democrat parliamentarians. I view those as symptoms. The root problem is far deeper, and it's rooted in corruption, contempt for voters, and betrayal of the people. Some of these items have been discussed frequently: a ban on Democrat committee chairs, changing the parliamentarians, excluding Democrats from vote-whipping discussions, and advancing the GOP legislative priorities before action on anything else, to name a few, but others have gotten less airtime. Limiting a speaker to 2 terms would be an ode to the days when speakers of the House generally served only 1 term. Another item, recording all House proceedings, including point of order debates, is an intriguing idea. And these are the debates that happen when, if you're watching stream in the House where they say bring your point of order down, they have the debate in front of the parliamentarian down there, and you don't get to hear all that. So you don't know what happened, and all you get to hear later is just how the speaker rules on the point of order, or it's withdrawn, or whatever. You don't really get to hear what happened, so they want to make that transparent. That would be interesting to just the ledgeheads or to parliamentarians that want to hear the debate. Most House proceedings are recorded and available on the Chamber's website. Everything with testimony is recorded and streamed online, but some committee meetings, particularly when legislation is voted out of the body following public consideration, occur off-camera. Calendars Committee also convenes off-camera when it sets floor slates, meaning that usually the last 5 minutes at most, as the calendar is already prepared and rarely debated. Roll is called, votes are cast, calendar set. The jockeying over placement on a calendar, which can involve deal cutting, but for the average bill is often about whether the author advocated enough, occurs behind the scenes. In the Senate, the calendar is not used formally like the House. Rules are suspended to bring up desired legislation thanks to a blocker bill brought to the floor in an order determined behind the scenes. Also practically off camera are the scrums next to the dais when members argue over points of order or procedure challenges to bills intended to point out parliamentary flaws and prevent passage. As it is, the Chamber's microphones can't pick up the discussion, but reporters in the bullpen can hear some of it, and they often like to write up reports on it. The most discussed example of this was a point of order on House Bill 20, a Chamber priority border bill in the 88th session that a Democrat members killed at a deadline, suggesting the bill authorized the state to declare war, a power it didn't actually have. But that wasn't the only example. Points of order had a bit of renaissance last session, particularly in relation to background and purpose statements deemed lax and baseless by the parliamentarians. One maneuver by State Rep. John Busey, a Democrat out of Austin, sparked a run on points of order during the 23 regular session, ramping up frustration with the application of parliamentary procedure that had already been boiling. Transparency behind the arguments and rulings on these points of order is a general idea, but whether it actually have an effect, I'd move the conversations further off screen, would be something to watch if it's implemented. And it goes on and on. Oliverson, let's see, I'm just trying to pick out the rest of it that's pertinent. So far, the field for speaker is only population of 2. Phelan and State Representative Tom Oliverson announced his run last month, committing to many of the things on the above list, stating them as a baseline for any prospective candidate, while Phelan finds himself in a contentious runoff against challenger David Covey. A lot more jockeying this to come. This is just 13 members have signed on to this. There's going to have to be a whole lot more before you can actually get enough of the threshold to pick a speaker. Plus, Phelan's still in a runoff. It's not time to have these discussions yet. A quick text, 365. Steve, maybe that's what we should do. Make the speaker a regular citizen, not a representative. Perhaps Newt would be the best speaker for today to give them a model on what a true speaker works. Maybe so, Eric. We'll take the break. We'll pick something else to talk about. Maybe we'll just hand it off to Nick and let him rattle for the rest of the evening. I don't know. We'll find out. It's going to happen. We're going to be back. We're going to put something quality on the air in just a moment. It's a Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans hanging out with you. Back in a moment.
Just do the driving and I'm on my way.
the titan of Texas talk radio, Chad Hasty.
Talking with newsmakers and about the issues that matter to you. The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Chad's show is also digital with the Chad Hasty Show podcast. The Chad Hasty Show podcast can be downloaded on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and the Radio On Demand page at KFYO.com. The Chad Hasty Show, all across Texas during your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we will dive into the aftermath of Eclipse Day. How did it go for everybody out there all across the country and around the world? Plus the latest polls, Trump v. Biden. What is the trend showing us? And Clay?
Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, who will be on the ballot, will join us. She just came back from the border. All that and more. Tuesday edition, Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Tomorrow morning at 11.
Weekday afternoons from 2 till 5 on KFYO.
Back on the Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans hanging out with you this evening. I got a text. There's been a sighting, a rare post-eclipse sighting, Chad Hasty in Sweetwater. Said we're just we're sounding great in Sweetwater. I would assume he's talking about you, Nick. I don't know. You sound great in Sweetwater, Nick. I told him we sound good everywhere, don't we? Oh, my goodness. I got a Trump story. There's so many, everybody just kind of roll their eyes. Another Trump story. I got a Trump story. And this one was interesting because Trump, it's been several weeks ago, and I don't have the story I was looking at, but Trump was kind of placating to the left, I think, when he was talking about abortion. And he was talking about there should be an exception for rape and incest. And at the time, I was reading it thinking, but is he suggesting that the federal government enter back in the abortion debate again? We've already gotten rid of Roe v. Wade. We've already honored the 10th Amendment. We've already rendered on to Caesar's that which is Caesar's and given this back to the states. We let the states decide. And if you don't like your state laws, move to another state. If you don't like the way Texas bans abortion, move somewhere else. But it was interesting that Donald Trump got into this discussion. I almost feel like he might have been baited into it, but you're going to see some of that as now the votes. Trump's going to be the nominee. It's going to happen. And so the game now is not for him to win the primary because he's won the primary. No doubt. He's won the primary. He's going to get the nomination at the RNC. I just don't see anything that's going to prevent that. So now the key is to get the fence-sitting voters, the ones that don't know how they're going to vote, the independents, the moderates, the fence-sitters. There's two things you got to do. Number one, you got to get them to come out and vote instead of just staying home, and that's the largest group that stays home. It's the middle-of-the-road fence-sitters, independents, and then the others that stay home are the Democrats, and they can stay home in the general. And the Republicans who have lost faith in the system or think my vote's not going to matter. I live in an area where it's already happened. I've already won here. Things like that. So you're going to see the president jump on a massive get the vote out program. That's going to be job one. See if I can turn voters out. And you'll see that start to ramp up as we go through summer. There'll be voter registration drives. There'll be get the vote out messages. Let's get people to the polls first. The second thing the president's going to start doing, when I say president, former president, Mr. Trump, Donald J., the second thing he's going to start doing is trying to shift this message because everybody will go far right for their primary, and then they got to kind of come back a little bit to the left, to the middle to pick up those independent, moderate votes. You're going to see him do that. You're going to start seeing him kind of slide a little bit on issues. Not waffle, but slide over a little bit and maybe soften a stance a little bit, a position here and there. And one of the first things that I picked up on that just was like a bullhorn going off is when he talked about a possible, might be interested in an exception for rape and incest. And that was one of the big things that, that was probably one of the biggest things. And it's coming off of the continued heated debate on the abolition of Roe v. Wade, on giving this issue back to the states. Now, I think it kind of blew up, and now Trump says, wait a minute, maybe I messed up. In a video posted to Truth Social, which, by the way, I've got a lot of comments about Truth Social, kind of happy about it, because it's making me money. Former President Donald Trump clarified his stance on abortion issues, stated it's about the will of the people. He needed to clarify this. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint. The states will determine by law or legislation, or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Because I think he stepped in it. I think there was a need for him to clarify. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks. Some will be more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Trump also commented on the ongoing conversation surrounding the use of in vitro fertilization. I've stayed largely out of this because I'm still gathering information about this. It seems like this kind of came out of left field all of a sudden. Stating he strongly supports the availability of IVF for couples who are trying to have a precious baby. Republican Party should always be on the side of the miracle of life, or the side of mothers, fathers, and their beautiful babies. Beautiful. You have to add that. I can't do it the way Chad does. Beautiful babies. Don't have the Trump voice down. Can't do it. February, Governor Abbott also commented on IVF treatments following an Alabama Supreme Court decision that ruled frozen embryos used during IVF are human lives under state law. During an interview with CNN, Abbott said that, and we're going to delve into this IVF thing for just a little bit, said that the IVF process is a way of giving life to even more babies. And so what I think the goal is to make sure that we can find a pathway to ensure that parents who otherwise may not have the opportunity to have a child will be able to have access to IVF process and become parents and give life to babies. I have friends that have actually adopted a spare embryo out of an IVF procedure. Abbott added there was no doubt the issue would be addressed by Texas. I think you're going to see a lot of debate on this coming up. Trump also expanded on his views on where exception for abortion can take place. Like Ronald Reagan, I'm strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of a mother. He's doubling down on this. Matt Schaefer, who is not seeking re-election, called Trump's will of the people comments evil and cowardly. Joe Biden released a statement, too, that I'm going to have to bring you after the break. I'll pick that up on the backside of the break. Time for news and weather. 806-680-2790 is the number to send us a message. Quick break, and we'll be right back. Steve Evans in for Chad Hasty. Stick around.
The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. Today's markets from the Texas Department of Ag.
Well, howdy, neighbors. Texas feeder catalogs supporting prices steady to $15 lower. Cattle futures, though, were up. April live cattle futures up $1.15, closed at $179.40. April feeder cattle futures up $1.60, closed at $239.30. May cotton futures up, closed at $86.65. May wheat futures down 3 cents, closed at $5.85 a bushel. Corn up a penny to close at $4.35. And May soybean futures down 4 cents, closed at $11.81 a bushel. May soybean meal futures up $2.90, closed at $336 per ton. April Class B milk futures up 7 cents, closed at $15.64 a hundred. May crude oil futures down 27 cents, closed at $86.64 per barrel, and the Dow Jones was down 11 points, closed at 38,892. And that's the market roundup from the Texas Department of Agriculture. I'm your commissioner, Sid Miller. And remember, friends, Texas agriculture matters. Sold.
News and talk of West Texas. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO.
Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans with you for just another half hour. I know. You're sad. That's it. Savor it. It's going to be a while before it happens again. I'll be back on sometime in April. Maybe a Friday or something like that. I'm not sure when. But I'll be back on with you. be stewing on something, you know. We wound up, maybe we'll talk more about econ. Wear that out in the first episode. I'm still mad about it, but anyway. So picking back up my Trump abortion story, that's what I'm calling it. Biden weighed in. Now after Matt Schaefer, Representative Schaefer, who's not seeking re-election, called Trump's will of the people comments evil and cowardly. Much like him either. Joe Biden released a statement on the abortion message. It said, Trump is scrambling. Donald Trump made it clear once again he is more than anyone in America the person responsible for ending Roe v. Wade. He is more than anyone in America responsible for creating the cruelty and the chaos that has enveloped America since the Dobbs decision. Questions concerning abortion exceptions have been a continued point of controversy in Texas as multiple court cases have brought the issue into legal spotlight in recent months. Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America organization released a statement saying they are deeply disappointed in President Trump's position. Saying the issue is back to the states cedes the national debate to the Democrats who are working relentlessly to enact legislation mandating abortion throughout all 9 months of pregnancy. If successful, they will wipe out states' rights, SBA Pro-Life America wrote. With lives on the line, SBA Pro-Life America and the pro-life grassroots will work tirelessly to defeat President Biden and extreme congressional Democrats. It's one of those you can't have it both ways. You either champion states' rights or you don't, but I get what the Susan B. Anthony organization, I get what they're saying. That is always a problem. We're always at risk of the federal government overstepping the boundaries of the 10th Amendment. Always at risk. Seem to be doing it all the time. Eric in Health Center says, something is going on when you see three evil horsemen, Clinton, Obama, and Joe coming off an airplane. I think it's scorched earth, all hands on deck win at all cost, crazy people up for them to just to get a win for Joe. I still think they're going to stab him in the back before it's over. I still think there's a plan out there. I still think Michelle, I almost said Hillary Obama. I still think Michelle Obama, that would be weird. I still think Michelle Obama might be in play here somehow. I just, again, can't believe the Democrats think that unless Barack Obama has got such a hold on Biden, such a tight, firm grip, that's who they want. It could be. Let's just keep the puppet in place. It's doing well for us. But I can't see how Biden is going to be able, because at some point he's got to speak for himself, and that's when he falls apart. They can't control him 100% of the time. And I think that's where it falls apart. Their key is not necessarily the presidency. Their key is Congress. That's where they're going to focus their efforts, is down the ballot. That's why when we talk about the money coming in to work on Senator Cruz or to defeat Senator Cruz, that money is going to, a lot of it's going to trickle down ballot. It is going to take, like Maya Flores. Fights like that are going to cost tremendous amounts of money, way more than they should, because all this down ballot money that's flowing in. That's the goal, is Congress, more than the presidency. Of course they want the presidency, but that's the goal. 831, Bill from North Carolina, was definitely a strange day. Went to a friend's house, been there 100 times. Only one right turn to his house, made two wrong turns. Strange. It's the eclipse. It messed up your whole internal GPS system. Or, Bill, you might have been coming from a different direction or a different way than you normally do. That could be it. Your car just had a mind of its own. I haven't heard anybody tell me like they had GPS problems, they had internet problems. Now, I will tell you, I'm getting a little bit of internet skip today. You may be hearing it. The audio kind of buzz out there for a second. That's all the internet doing that to me. And I mean, that's two connections, so who knows? I haven't had any, watch me, I shouldn't even say this out loud because it'll jinx it. I haven't had any electrical issues today, any power problems. Now, we can go on battery, so we can always go on battery backup. But out at the Southwest studio. We can go on battery backup. We'll lose computers after about 15 minutes and everything, and it's just me freestyling for a little bit because I don't print anything out. But I can do that too, you know. Nick just has to, you know, he can't even message me when that happens. He just go for it. You just hear music and it just, you know, then you're gone. You just have to guess. So we can do that. Back to the old school way we used to do it. Nothing weird happened today. I was kind of hoping for something kind of weird. I don't know why, because the panic that would come after that would not be good. But I was hoping, like, you know, I was watching the eclipse and it was getting dim and I was waiting for a spaceship. Oh, you know something I thought about? Here's that attention deficit firing. Do you remember the Hale-Bopp comet? I was in the Navy in California. It was back in the 90s. The Hale-Bopp comet came through and you had the Heaven's Gate cult. And they were convinced that the comet, there was a spaceship hidden in the tail of the comet, and their way to ascend to the spaceship was suicide. They had this mass suicide, and I remember seeing it all. It was like early internet. I had a computer. I had maybe an AOL connection or something, CompuServe or something back then. And that was back when BBSs were still, bulletin board services were still pretty cool. I had an uncle in San Diego that had one that had like 40 phone lines coming in, and he would pull down email and all kinds of stuff. And then AOL kind of came after that. But I remember getting all the pictures from this house where all these people had this mass suicide. They had like these metal bunk beds, and they'd cover themselves in like these purple triangle bandana looking things. It was creepy. So I got to thinking, like, what if there's an eclipse cult out there? And it seems like there was a movie a while back. I can't remember. Like, people were in the penumbra of an eclipse, and so they got some weird powers or something. I'm having a little bit of deja vu about that. I don't know. I can't remember. But I was at least hoping, like, something weird would happen, something cool, like, so I could say, oh, you know, the solar eclipse. At least some of the conspiracy. At least Alex Jones was right about something. The power flickered. No, the power didn't flicker. I mean, it'd been cool if somebody just, like, the power company, like, oh, watch this. We're going to make the power flicker. Freak everybody out. Didn't lose the internet, you know. There weren't any pile-ups out at my office. You know, nothing like that. Nothing cool. I was kind of bummed out, you know. Anyway, let's take the break. The final break. We'll be back. This is the final break, isn't it, Nick? Back to wrap up the hour. Wrap up the show. Wrap up Eclipse Monday right here on the Chad Hasty Show. Stick around. I'll be back in a minute.
The Titan of Texas Talk Radio, Chad Hasty.
It's election season, and if you're running for elected office anywhere across the listening area, you can contact Chad to appear on the show. Send Chad an email to chad@kfyo.com with your name, contact info, and the office you're running for, and he'll get back to you. Or you can call in your information during the show to 1-800-687-0790. All across Texas, this is The Chad Hasty Show.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we will dive into the aftermath of Eclipse Day. How did it go for everybody out there all across the country and around the world? Plus the latest polls, Trump v. Biden. What is the trend showing us? And Clay?
Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, who will be on the ballot, will join us. She just came back from the border. All that and more. Tuesday edition, Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Tomorrow morning at 11.
From the KMAX Storm Team Weather Lab, this is a severe weather update with Ron Roberts.
A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect tonight for the counties to the east and southeast of Lubbock, including parts of Texas Highway 114 and US 84. Ron Roberts has an update.
Severe thunderstorm watch will continue this evening through 10 o'clock. Thunderstorms, a couple could be severe with large hail up to 2-inch diameter, damaging thunderstorm wind gusts. Also watch out for very heavy rainfall in low-lying areas. A severe thunderstorm watch does not include the metro Lubbock area, but some thunderstorms could be severe and strong this evening. Keep it here for the latest weather updates. We'll keep you advised.
Listen to Michael Berry twice a day, weekday mornings 8:30 to 11, and at night from 10 to midnight. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO.
Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Final segment of the evening. Steve Evans hanging out with you. A couple texts here. Let me take a look. We have one from a couple 365. It wasn't for Ukraine. I think Michelle would be the face of the Democrats. It's an earlier text. Let's see. A couple here. I think Ukraine is the Achilles heel, and that's why Joe has to stay, because of all the money laundering during Obama's administration and with Hunter Biden. It could be. They can't let that be exposed. Wasn't for Ukraine, I think Michelle would be the face of the Democrats. It still may. And then he says, "You've got mail." Nick said he missed the "you got mail" era, but I know it from one of my favorite Scooby-Doo movies when Velma's laptop kept saying it, and I was so confused as a kid. You got mail. Oh, my goodness. Let's see if I can vomit this story out. Texas Democrats blast. They're so upset. The MAGA playbook. Oh, my God. The evil MAGA playbook. It's almost as dangerous as the Red Hats. Blasting it. And the ban on DEI offices for public universities. It's so dangerous, you evil people. Prominent Texas Democrats say they're fighting against State Senate Bill SB 17 following the University of Texas at Austin's announcement that it will close the door on campus division focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The bill bans public universities in the state from having DEI offices. MAGA Republicans' relentless assault on the DEI initiatives, it's like this article is so angry, have already had devastating effects on institutions of higher education. Well, it's actually kind of fair now throughout the state, fostering an atmosphere hostile to students of color. A press release of the Texas Democrats said prior to the web press event on Friday. Gilbert Hannahos, the chair of the Texas Democrat Party, echoed those sentiments on his webinar. MAGA Republicans are openly racist going after DEI. It's so easy to call someone racist when you disagree with them, isn't it? An earlier press release, Hannahos wrote, "These bans on programs that protect these communities are nothing short of another rallying cry for the extreme right. Let me be clear." He used this Obama's famous line, "Let me be clear. This push is to whitewash our school, to whitewash our schools as a page out of Fascism 101, and they call us fascists, and we'll continue to fight back." So the ban on DEI is another rallying cry, like critical race theory ban is MAGA attempting to erase history. MAGA's not the one attempting to erase history. Texas Representative Ron Reynolds out of Missouri City, chairman of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, also spoke during the webinar, saying that Texas DEI ban was concocted from a MAGA playbook from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. They found that MAGA playbook laying in the subway. Reynolds has characterized Governor Greg Abbott's decision to sign SB 17 into law as a fear of being out-MAGA'd. You can't make this up. "We're not going back to white supremacy," he said. "Our country's original sin is slavery," he continued, and they actually think that's what it's about, adding that DEI helps level the playing field. Reynolds finished by calling UT Austin President Jay Hartzell to rescind the employee terminations that accompanied the closure of the university's diversity, equity, and inclusion focused division of campus and community engagement. Reynolds also called on students to mobilize and vote your values. After an evaluation following the passage of SB 17, the university said that the funding is used to support DEI across campuses prior to SB 17's effective date and will be redeployed to support teaching and research. Oh, well, those are good things, right? It's been reported that up to 60 employees have been terminated due to the division closing. The email from Hartzell goes on to say that positions that provided support for those associate and assistant deans and a small number of staff roles across campus that were formerly focused on DEI will no longer be funded. The evil horror of MAGA. Texture says, "I don't mind a 21-gun salute to say goodbye to DEI, even if done in dresses." I was listening to a national talk host here recently. They were talking about all the problems with the planes that are happening. Like, I've been flying a lot recently too. It's like crosses my mind every time I go to step on a plane. They're like, it's DEI policies that lead to poor maintenance, that lead to unqualified people operating or working on planes, and firmly believe and made the connection that this is the reason that we're having all these problems, is because companies have embraced this idea. Listen, the most 21 gun salute in dresses and drag. I can't go there, Eric. I don't think I want to see that. You might. Don't be posting yourself in drag on the internet. Nobody wants to see that. Anyway, it's this company's hiring practices that cause this. The most qualified person is the one that needs to get the job. If you're the most qualified, the most trainable, the best candidate, you shouldn't need the DEI practices. That should never come into play. But when managers and universities and companies and managers and supervisors all are forced to hire based on a specific program that says you must have these policies in place, you're going to get unqualified people. You're going to get unqualified people putting the flaps back on the plane, putting the doors on, servicing the landing gears. You're going to have that happen, and you're going to have problems. We're seeing them all over the place. 466 says, force Democrats to fill their lives with DEI people. Is that like a person? Can you just walk out and point at someone and say you're a DEI person? I don't think you can do that. We're creating a whole demographic. You're a DEI person. Nick, you may be a DEI person. It's a sweater thing. I don't know. Maybe. These practices need to end, and we need to let businesses conduct business. Let schools teach. Let's get back to not worrying about policies like this. These are all things. It's all red tape measures that stifle the business. And again, the thing I always like to say is, what's the economic backbone of America? The small business. Get off their backs. Final text, 365 says, trying to be inclusive for you. Don't need you to do that, Eric, but thanks for listening. Enjoyed being with you today. Always do. Chad's close. He's close to being back in the area. Close enough we won't have to worry about him being on tomorrow. He'll be back in the hot seat, bringing you the news and opinion of West Texas in only a way he can. I'll see you down the road. This is the Chad Hasty Show right here on the Texas Town Square Media Network. For Nick Tauschik, I'm Steve Evans. Later in the month, we'll feature a even crazier program. We'll make it special, I'm sure. Hey, have a great week. I'll see you down the road.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of the Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media.